are here to enrich you with another informative session. Chrysalis provides a platform for researchers in English literature and in related domains to present their research and generate intellectual and productive deliberations. Chrysalis, the season 1, which initiated in 2021-22, hosted 15 paper presentations and 4 invited lectures. Chrysalis 2 in the year 2022-23 and Chrysalis 3 2023-24 widened the scope and brought in participants from across the nation. Chrysalis 4 2024-25 envisions to deepen the impact and benefit of as many scholars as possible. Chrysalis, in all its editions, commemorates the treasured contributions of eminent late teachers of the department, Reverend Father Anthony Kutikat, CMI, Dr. Danya Menon, and Professor Paul Davis. Today, we proudly invite our speaker, Dr. Poornima P. She is an assistant professor, the Department of English at Srinarayana College, Alathur. Her field of research is narratological studies in Indian literature. And I wholeheartedly welcome you, ma'am, to the Chrysalis program and to St. Aloysius College. And we are also excited to have Dr. Anu Paul, the moderator for today's session. She's an assistant professor and head of the research and PG Department of English at St. Thomas College, Thrissur. She has published widely and presented papers at national and international conferences, including a paper presentation at the International Conference on Digital Humanities, the Democratization of History, organized by LCIR at the University of London in 2019. Her research interest includes American slave narratives, globalization, gender studies, Malayalam literature, and post-colonial studies. On behalf of St. Aloysius, I proudly invite you to chair today's session on exploring revisionist perspectives on the Mahabharata in contemporary Indian literature. Welcome, Dr. Anu Paul, and now it's all yours.
Thank you. It's indeed a pleasure to be here on the platform of Chrysalis. Once again, actually, I was a moderator for one of the earlier sessions of Chrysalis. And whenever I get time, I make it a point to be a part of all the sessions of Chrysalis. And I deeply enjoy this academic deliberations we have in the evening in a very prudent manner, sometimes very casual way. And the way many conversations ends without even me being complete. We just go on talking and discussing things. So it is a wonderful platform for all of us present here. So I am deeply indebted to Betsy ma'am, principal, and all the scholars who toil behind this process, which has been continuing. And I'm really proud to be a part of this, and seeing it, going without a stop is really nice. And I offer my best wishes to all the organizers, especially to Betsy ma'am. And today I am here to moderate the topic presented by Dr. Poornima. So I have known her for, I think, 6 or 7 years when we were together PhD scholars in St. Thomas College. And she has been a good friend, and we used to discuss things. And now she has completed her PhD, and it is extremely proud moment to host her topic, which was something very interesting when she presented it during her open defense, exploring revisionist perspectives on the Mahabharata in contemporary Indian literature. And if I remember right, at the time of her PhD, she mentioned choosing 4 works. And I remember it very clearly, she mentioning Randamulam by M.T. Vasudevan Nair, and also P.K. Balakrishnan's Ini Njan Urangatte, because both these works I am very familiar with and I've read as a student. So I still remember those works. So her topic is a really interesting one, where I think she is going to discuss about the retellings of canonical narratives, especially all these classical texts, especially Mahabharata, as she have chosen it. So it is really interesting how she studies the alternative perspectives of how these texts and narratives diverge from the traditional interpretations, and how the analysis of these revisionist works, and how it endeavor to unravel their engagement with contemporary cultural and social paradigms. So I hope this session may be a wonderful session and a fruitful session for all the participants.
Is the issue at my end? We can hear.
Different interpretations
Yes.
came out through these works, and I hope Poornima will shed light to all these. Poornima, you're not audible. I think your mic is not on.
Okay. So, good afternoon, good evening to everyone present here. And I'm very happy that you have invited me to this interesting session of Chrysalis Lecture 7. So, it has been a privilege for me to be part of this research activity of your department. So, I'm very happy and I'm very grateful to the management and principal and all the staff of the college, St. Aloysius. So I'll try my best to do justice to the task that I have been entrusted with today. That is to discuss my research area, which I've been just now. I have been awarded the PhD this year. So I'll try to begin with that. Before that, let me try to share my presentation. Just a moment. So is the presentation visible?
Yes, ma'am.
So this is my topic, exploring a revisionist perspective on the Mahabharata in contemporary Indian literature. So I was very much fascinated by this aspect of Mahabharata. That is, we could look at this epic Mahabharata from different perspectives. That is, from the revisionist perspective, and we can see the use of narratology here. Narratology is an immense area of research that focuses on narrative structures, techniques, and devices used in storytelling, in literature, films, and other media. We can see that used in different media, and so it is growing rapidly. That is how narratology has grown rapidly, and that is what I have applied here. So this is what led me towards this topic, that is a revisionist aspect of Mahabharata narratives. So what I mean by Mahabharata narratives are all the retellings that we see. There are numerous retellings of this Mahabharata in contemporary Indian fiction. So a lot of such retellings. So I will be dealing with such a narrative of examining how these narratives, they shift the focus from what is that central aspect of the epic. So what are the means by which they are shifting this this aspect. For example, there are different focalization techniques and how time and space have been employed in these modern narratives. And they try to bring a modern perspective to the epic and reflect contemporary realities. So these modern narratives, they have borrowed heavily from the plot of this epic, and they have dealt with it in a new manner or in a different manner, so that they try to highlight certain aspects of the epic. And what they choose to highlight, they're written in a different manner, so that all of these different retellings, they vary from each other in terms of their perspective, and they are trying to present the contemporary realities, etc. So these revisionist works, they are altered in tone and texture from the works they are based on. So what I'm trying to do here is to study how the narratives shape our perspectives, how they shape our understanding of the experiences, and how they can be reinterpreted through various lenses. And we will be exploring the narratological techniques of revisionism in the modern retellings of the epic, and try to uncover the richness of these retellings that offer fresh perspectives on this state. So we already know how many such retellings have been done, beginning with Rajagopalachari's Mahabharata, and we see Devdutt Patnaik's Jaya, an illustrated retelling, and we have Shashi Tharoor's The Great Indian Novel. We have Amish Tripathi's novels, Ashok Bankar, Ashwin Sanghi. All of these novelists, they are involved in experimenting with this mythological genre and blending it with fantasy and modernizing these myths. What they are trying to do is modernize these myths. So what they try to fictionalize gods into a human form and try to bring them closer to people. And this is what makes these novelists acceptable, because this is common knowledge among the people that we are all aware of what are the events that are part of this epic, and all of these characters are very familiar, but this is a way in which they make their own perspective interesting. So they reframe the basic myths and address the contemporary issues. They often select from innumerable episodes of the original. That is, none of them can attempt to even present the whole lot of the incidents in the epic, because we know that it consists of more than 1 lakh slokas, and there are different parbas, and it's a very long epic. It's a very long tale. So no one will be able to do justice by presenting all the events. So there are many adaptations, but when in these revisionist works, they select suitable incidents. That is, from their viewpoint, what are most suitable for them, they select and highlight those. For example, some of these novels, they focus on relationship among the characters. Like in this Palace of Illusions, we have this a relationship between Karna and Draupadi. So similarly, there each of these works, they focus or they highlight certain incidents and characters of their choice. And they also deviate in terms of the actions of the characters, so that they become comprehensible and acceptable to modern sensibilities. That is, we see the epic consists of a lot of digressions, and many we have superhuman characters, and they are performing superhuman tasks, which may be unacceptable to the modern audience, the new generation audience. For example, they find it difficult to believe that such incidents happen. So they are making it realistic, and they are making it acceptable to modern sensibilities. So in their attempt, what they are doing is they read between the lines. So this is, I've taken this line from Rendamuram. M.T. Vasudevan Nayar's Rendamuram translation of that is Bhima the Lone Warrior. So in that, in the introduction, he talks about his attempt at this retelling. So he says that he has tried to read between the lines of what already Vyasa has written. And he's imagining what else might have happened apart from what is ostensibly part of the epic narrative. So he's reimagining what else might have happened apart from what is already part of the epic. And he's telling that he has tried to expand on pregnant silence. So when we read this novel, Rendamuram, we can see that he has talked about many aspects which are not found in the original epic. So that he himself has, Vasudevan Nair himself has explained his purpose at writing this kind of an epic. So, so that is what I have tried. I have also tried to analyze in these different novels. So we see that literature or any fiction consists of a network of narratives that give rise to yet other narratives. So this already there is an established narrative, and there are people who draw upon those narratives to create new narratives, which deflect from the original one, or they question the original one. Sometimes they are subverting. So all kinds of such possibilities are there in revisionist writings. So then these narratives need to present a certain perspective, and they leave a distinct mark on each narrative. So each of the narrative has got a specific perspective, and that is the impression that is left on the readers. So it's not possible to say which is the right one or which is the exact retelling and all. So all of these can be accepted as very good revisionist writings. So a story may be told in a number of ways, with some aspects foregrounded and some aspects backgrounded. So especially in retellings, the focus is on the characters and incidents. Which characters need to be focused and which incidents need to be focused, and they are trying to fill the gaps. So each writer, when he's attempting to make another retelling, they are trying to fill the gaps or look at it from a different angle. And these retellings often differ markedly from each other and may be wide apart in terms of their times of publication. The time of publication, the context in which he is writing, and so what are the prevalent ideas of that time, what are considered acceptable. All of these influence the such revisionist writings and how they are accepted in society. So these, if we study all of these details closely, we can see many layers of meaning for each text. So that is why I have used the theory of narratology in the study, and I have made use of the concepts of Gerald Genet, Roland Barthes, Franz Stenzel, Slomet Rimon and Conan, Mike Ball. All of these all of these critics, they have dealt with different aspects of narratology. So I have examined these work, some texts, revisionist texts on the Mahabharata, based on the ideas presented by these critics. So then coming to the epic, the Mahabharata, these are the primary texts I have dealt with. You're aware of all these. And that is, many of you might have read these novels. That is The Palace of Illusions, Yajnaseni, and Now Let Me Sleep, Bhima, the Lone Warrior. All of these are extremely familiar texts for all of us. So I have dealt with how Mahabharata has been re-examined in many of these works. So the features that constitute the epic are part of the ingredients that have kept researchers deeply involved in the study of this epic. So there is no end to the number of studies taken up about this epic. So it keeps on engaging the researchers' attention, because of there are innumerable characters and there are subplots, there are digressions. So all of these works, they reconstruct the epic by selectively stringing together certain incidents that reflect the views of the protagonist. So the Palace of Illusions, we all know that it is written from the perspective of Panchali. Similarly, by Chitra Banerjee Divakarani, and there are many other such works also. There is Karna's Wife, Outcast Queen, Karna's story told from the angle of Karna's wife Uruli, against the background of the struggle between the Pandavas and the Kauravas. Similarly, there is Arjuna, the saga of a Pandava prince. There are a number of such works. So I have particularly chosen to focus on these 4 novels. And there are also works like C. Rajagopalachari's Mahabharata, and Jaya, an illustrated retelling by Devdutt Patnaik. So these are also adaptations of this Mahabharata. So all of these retellings are unique regarding the perspective character-centric narratives. So all of these novels, they focus on particular characters and write from their angle. So what they have done, most of these revisionist works, what they have done is they have made many temporal distortions, which are the focus of study in this presentation, and they need to be dealt in detail. So we have tried to, I've tried to make an accurate reading of these fiction. And I've also applied the concept of chronotopes introduced by Michael Bakhtin. That is, he has combined the term chrono and topos, meaning space and time. So when we are analyzing the time in narratives from this theoretical framework, I have also analyzed this, and I've also examined the narrative levels and focalization of the Mahabharata retellings in it's an analysis in terms of these concepts. And let me give you an introduction of the review of literature that I have done. So here we see Rajagopalachari's Mahabharata, which is an influence on most of the modern retellings, and it's considered an iconic text in merging the mythical past with the present for the modern urban readers. Rajaji considers this epic as a national library and includes historical evidence of dates for the present generation in the preface to the second edition of his Mahabharata retold. In this work of fiction, he has also used evidence of dates for this present generation. And Jaya, an illustrated retelling of the Mahabharata, makes use of an illustrated, that is, he uses a lot of illustrations. That is, he has included over 250 illustrations, and he has also dealt with the folk and Sanskrit versions of this epic. So not just what is considered as the common or acceptable one, but also different variations of the epic he has tried to include. And I've also examined the work of K. Ayyappa Panikar in dealing with Indian narrative.
Excuse me. Are you changing the slide?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I can see the same slide.
Okay.
I see a revisionist perspective.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, now the slide has changed. No, it has come back.
Is it, ma'am? I've not yet come to this slide. That is why I'm still presenting the previous one.
Yes, Poornima, you can continue.
So when we look at the way this Mahabharata has been analyzed, there are even foreign scholars or Western scholars who have dealt with this epic. For example, there is Alf Hilterweiter, a German scholar who has tried to decipher the spirit behind the writing of this epic that covers every aspect of human life. So some of his important works in this regard are Betsy ma'am,
The slide is yet not changing.
just a minute, ma'am. I'll just try to do it once again.
Okay.
Now the slide has changed, Poornima. We can see the slides changing. But I think whatever you were telling now, that was not on the slide. You were just describing the works you are referred to, right? Your mic is off. Poornima, your mic is off. Yes.
Okay, just a minute. I'm trying to present it once again.
Poornima, can you share the slide and just continue with your talk? Just share the slide with me. Maybe I'll present it. It's okay if you can't share the slides. Please continue talking.
Poornima,
You
the
muted. That's why.
You're muted. That's it. Oh, I'm sorry. Actually, the presentation I'm not able to share with you. What I had prepared.
It's okay. Please continue your talk.
Now, is it visible, ma'am?
Yes, it's visible, but it is not full screen mode, but still we can see the first slide.
You see the first slide even now?
Yeah, it is first slide.
First slide is now. Yeah, just
You can take the slideshow mode, I think, because it's the first slide still showing the title slide. Yeah, now it's gone. Yes, now it's okay, Poornima. I think you can continue. We can see the slide. Yes.
So I'm sorry for the interruption and I delayed all of you. So I was talking about the literary works or review of literature, what I had done for my research. So then we'll come to this analysis part of this work. So this novel, Yekneseni, talks about, it's an outstanding portrayal of one of the most misunderstood and berated female characters in the epic. She not only justifies her actions, what she has done here is not only justifying her actions, but stands up for her rights and speaks up for other women like who have been crucified for no fault of theirs. So this Yekneseni and Palace of Illusions, such works often talk about, these works focus on the protagonist, Draupadi. And we all know that she was the wife of 5 husbands, the 5 Pandavas. So the way she has been treated in the epic is that she has been misunderstood by generations of people and she has been berated. That is, his lack of importance is evident. And so she has also been crucified. So in these revisionist novels, we see that she's given a chance to rectify that injustice. And she's questioning all this injustice of patriarchy through these retellings. So all she wishes to convey is presented through a blood-drenched letter to her Sakha Krishna in the last moments of her life when she climbs Mount Meru with her husband. So that is when the novel opens, we can see that she has written a blood-drenched letter to her friend Krishna, and she is accompanying her husband to climb Mount Meru. And in the process, she collapses and she's not able to move further. So then from there, she is looking back at her life and she's trying to analyze how her life has been. So when she looks at her own life from from the standpoint that is at the end of her life, when she is looking back at her life, then she is able to interpret her own actions and also those of the close ones, other close ones, how they have behaved with her. She's able to interpret it differently. So these actions become clearer. And when we look at it from that angle or from that point of time, her own actions and actions of her husbands become clearer. So in this revisionist work, she becomes the pivotal character on which the plot revolves, whereas other characters fade into the background. So another novel that I've taken up is And Now Let Me Sleep, authored by P.K. Balakrishnan. And we know that this is a famous novel in Malayalam titled as Ini Njan Orangate. So this novel is a psychological take on the moral dilemmas and issues faced by Yudhishthira and Draupadi in their daily life as they take reign of the devastated Hastinapur after the Kurukshetra war. So after the war, they look at this land of widows and orphans. So they are left to deal with all this, and they doubt whether they have really won the war. So the epic Mahabharata deals with what happens and all the 18-day war and how the Pandavas regained their kingdom, and it focuses on their valor. Whereas in this version, we see it is about the dilemmas and the issues faced by Yudhishthira and Draupadi when they look back at their own life, and they are trying to analyze the life of Karna. That is, they come to know later on that Karna is Yudhishthira's own brother or a sibling. So they are trying to analyze and they try to discuss, and the role of fate and everything is discussed through this novel. And about Rendamuram, it needs no introduction for us Malayalis, and this is written from the perspective of Bhima, the second Pandava prince, who is often treated as a second Kama. So that is why the earlier version of this same novel was the second turn. So here the novel is a retelling of the epic, and what M.T. Vasudevan Nair has done is to negate the divine elements and try to present a realistic picture. And when this novel opens, we see there is a poignant description of the destruction of the city of Dwaraka by the waves and bandits through the voice of an omniscient narrator. The Pandavas are on their way to salvation. And this novel is a retelling of this epic. And Bhima, when he starts recounting what had happened in their life, and starting from the end point of their life, and then he talks about the time when he was a 5 years old kid and how his father had passed away, and he along with his mother and his siblings had arrived in Hastinapur. All of the impressions that Bhima goes through, and what are the impressions that are left on his mind as a child and as he grows up, and his attraction towards Draupadi, and the very bad treatment given to him, even though he is an extremely strong person, and the whole Pandava side relies on his strength, but still he's not given as much importance as he deserves. So MT has tried to focus on this aspect of Bhima in his retelling. So here Bhima talks about the journey towards at the end the Mahaprasthanika Parva, where these Pandavas are leaving their heavenly abode and they arrive in Hastinapur. Then from there, he talks about the time when they arrive at Hastinapur. So Visirandamuram is a cult text in Malayalam with a class of its own. So these are some of the retellings that we have seen here. And now another section of my research also deals with the intersection of time and space in Mahabharata narratives. So it deals with the effect of alterations of temporality and spatiality. So temporality deals with the treatment of time in literature, and spatiality deals with the way space is dealt with in narratives. So I have tried to analyze how these revisionist works have dealt with the use of time and space. So already I've told you in the beginning that is how these retellings, they don't follow a linear order or linear chronological order of presentation. There are prolepsis and analepsis. That is, the writers keep on shifting from past to present. There are flashbacks and there are prolepsis. That is, they talk about elements of the plot which are going to come in future. So such kind of deviations, they make it interesting. These revisionist works are made interesting through the use of this kind of employment of time and space. So there is a shift in chronology of narration, and there is a shift in the pace of narration. Pace of narration here means that certain incidents are given too much importance. So the writers here, they dedicate a lot of pages to explain those particular incidents, for example, including too many descriptions and all that. So the pace of narration, that is here, the pace of narration slows down a bit because they want to focus on that particular incident. At other times, there is the pace of narration quickens. For example, sometimes they want to sum up the whole thing. So a summary is given where we see many years have passed very quickly. So when these Pandavas, they leave for, they are at hiding in this Virat Parva, they are in hiding. So during that time, they are trying to sum up the whole incidents, what happened there in very few pages. So such kind of variations in pace of narration are also used. Then in Yajnaseni, we see a non-linear pattern or narrative pattern. And we also see that buildings and spaces are such as palaces have been used as chronotopes in these novels. So these spaces, they affect the life of these characters. For example, Palace of Illusions. Draupadi compares her father's palace to that of a fortress, which made her feel like a prisoner. So when she looks out from her chamber, what she sees is just dry area without any color or sound in her father's palace. So what she imagines is that in her future palace, that is, she imagines a kind of future where she will be the wife of someone, and she will be having a lot of beautiful trees and with a lot of flowers and butterflies and all that. She imagines that. So that is the impact of spaces on these characters. So we have seen how Draupadi feels when she is at her father's palace, and where the kind of palace she imagines, and the palace in which she lives as the wife of these Pandavas. That is the Palace of Illusions. The title itself suggests the importance given to the palace in this particular version. So that was the palace created by the architect Maya for her. And that palace is described and very well in this novel. And later on, it disappears when we see that is after these Pandavas, they lose their that is after the game of dice they have lost, they lose this palace. So this palace of illusions, that's why it becomes an illusion for her. It's not a long-standing one. It is a temporary one. So that's why this title Palace of Illusions also is given for this novel. Then another aspect I've focused on in these retellings is the narrative levels and focalization. So focalization strategies involve, that is, the story is told from particular characters' viewpoint. So from their perspective, all these appear different. So the term focalization was introduced by Gerard Janet to represent the perspective in fiction and the perception of angle of the narrative discourse. So when a narrative is externally focalized, then what the readers do not get access to the thought process of the characters. So we do not know what is happening in the character's mind when the narrative is externally focalized. So similarly, we can also see an internally focalized narrative which provides access to what passes through the minds of the characters. And there is also a zero focalized narrative where there is an omniscient narrator who is perceiving everything, including the thoughts in the minds of his characters. So we can see all these different kinds of focalization used alternatively in these retellings. So these retellings, they have a specific audience in mind and to make the alternative perspectives work. And so we see And Now Let Me Sleep, which uses 4 different narrators who are focused on remembering and analyzing the actions of the warrior Karna posthumously. That is, after the death of Karna, they are trying to analyze and see why such kind of a great warrior had to face this kind of a fate. That is a sad life of this Karna has been posthumously analyzed by using 4 different narrators. So each of these narrators examine the past actions in the light of present revelations. So they all already know what has happened to Karna, and when at the point of the story, they get new revelations about his birth, and so the entire story appears different. So when we look at it from these revelations point of view, the story appears different. So for them, from the beginning, they were looking at Karna as their villainous enemy. But later on, he turns out to be an innocent victim. When they are analyzing him from a later perspective, we see Karna appearing as an innocent victim. And Yudhishthira feels helpless in front of this, that is a memory of his brother. And he is racked with guilt about committing fratricide and wishing to undo all that had happened. So here there is no celebration of the victory of the Pandava side. Instead, it is full of the guilt that Yudhishthira feels, and similarly, the confusions in the mind of Draupadi and how the that is the tragedy of her sons being burnt at the end of this victory, and her unable to sleep, she being unable to sleep. So that's why this novel also has been titled And Now Let Me Sleep. So P.K. Balakrishnan uses internal focalization here. So we can see the thoughts running in the mind of Draupadi and also Yudhishthira. And he also uses an extra diegetic narrator, that is Sage Narada. Sage Narada, he has not any particular role to play here, but still he appears as a narrator here. He re-examines the events of this plot. And finally, it's about the revisionist narrative techniques of using multiple narrators, and multiple viewpoints are given in each of these retellings. The aesthetic choices all of these narratives make in terms of the plot and character are influenced by the milieu in which they belong to. So they perform a deep psychological analysis of the protagonist and their motivation, and the novels selected here, they are trying to deconstruct the mythical and legendary characters to reveal contradictory elements in them. For example, Krishna is one such character who's a legendary character and is a mythical and legendary character. He has been deconstructed in these revisionist writings, and he is presented to be a very a kind of schemer who's focused on making the Pandavas win the war. So when we look at him using a lot of unjust means to win the war, then the way he's presented, we get a different picture of Karna in the novel Bhima Lone Warrior. So we can see him celebrating the death of Gadotkacha, and which is extremely painful to Bhima because it's the loss of his own son, even though he is a forester. So for him, it is a tragedy. Whereas on the other side, we see Krishna celebrating this death. So in this way, these are some of the variations we can see in this novel. So they are trying to humanize the mythical heroes undergoing conflicting emotions. They undergo conflicting emotions, and we see Bhima is presented as a rebel who is trying to break free from the oppressive authority of his brother Yudhishthira. Yudhishthira also has been presented in a different manner from that of usual retellings. So here he is presented not as an innocent or intelligent person who is soft spoken. Instead, he is shown to be extremely self centered, who's very authoritative, and he always gives a second turn to Bhima. Bhima has always been dealt a second turn as a second comer. So the emotions that Bhima passes through when he is he is experiencing such kind of a treatment. That is the focus of this retelling. So these selected works also deal with contemporary issues such as gender justice, social inequality, and other techniques like even the technique of metafiction. So here the narrator or the character is aware that he is part of an artistic construct and is in a position to comment on the events described in it. So here we also see the use of metafiction in many of these retellings. They interrogate the values expressed in the epic, and there are like from this different explosion of media in the present world, there are numerous ways of presenting the same incident. There are numerous ways of narrating the same incident. So that is what all of these retellings have attempted. They are narrating the same incident in different ways. So according to what is important for them, or what is important from their perspective. So the mode of telling has gained significance over the tale. The tale is a familiar one, but the mode of presentation or the mode of telling is what makes all of these retellings different from um, these works, other works. So let me conclude. I think I've taken up enough time here. So let me just conclude by mentioning the novel, Great Indian Novel by Shashi Tharoor. That's also another famous narrative on retelling on this Mahabharata. And we know that he uses the like a parody model of this epic, and he is parodying not only the epic but also the contemporary situation in India. So there, the narrator is VV or Ved Vyas. He uses the short forms or initials VV, and we can see the VV telling the readers in the end that what he has told so far, he has told it from a completely mistaken perspective. So then he says that I realize that I have no choice, but I must retell it. So he says this to his scribe Ganapati. And he says that I have no choice but to retell my epic, and retell the story I have presented here. So these are the words of Ved Vyas, who says that what he has told so far, he is not satisfied with his presentation. So he thinks that he is entirely wrong in the perspective that he has presented. So he is compelled to retell it. So I think Shashi Tharoor has made a comment on all these multiple versions that are prevalent now. Many other retellings continue to be produced over the ages, and so this must be the feeling of these revisionists, that they feel that something else is left to be explored. So let me conclude by saying that this is what I feel it will be the future for all these Mahabharata retellings. Thank you.
Thank you, Poornima. That was indeed a wonderful presentation, highlighting all your key points. I think while we examine Mahabharata's revisionist narratives with a particular focus on how temporal alterations and the pace of narration influence storytelling in your selected works, she has succeeded to outline the interconnected nature of time and space within these narratives. So, the innovative techniques and practices employed by the authors, especially as she had already mentioned, like shift in the chronological order, fragmented timelines or non-linear storytelling are highlighted, and this creates dynamic narrative structure that reinterprets this particular epic for a modern audience. So, as texts utilize diverse focalization strategies, such as limited third person narration, sometimes first person perspectives, shifts between the narrators. All these techniques offer fresh insights into the characters and events. And focalization influences the reader engagement, and it alters the audience's understanding of Mahabharata. So, when we include varied narrators, as already mentioned, these multiplicity of voices always ensures a more nuanced and multidimensional representation of the said epic. For example, as we can hear the perspectives from traditionally marginalized or secondary characters, such as Draupadi in the Palace of Illusions, or Bhima in Bhima, the lone warrior. So whenever we take, we can find the viewpoints of all these foregrounded characters, and we find alternate narratives. So this multiplicity humanizes these characters and also allows a space for explorations of themes such as gender, power, morality, and all these things are particularly relevant to modern audience, for that matter, for anyone. And when we take Mahabharata, the enduring appeal of this epic lies in the fact that it is highly adaptable and its capacity for reinterpretation. So as time moves on, this epic can be reinterpreted again and again. And once, while we are talking, also these epic may be reinterpreted and retold in a different way. So it was indeed interesting to listen to this particular revisionist narratives you have chosen, and how Mahabharata resonates in our minds through the viewpoint of the different characters rather than what is traditionally presented before us. So I think the session can be open to the audience now. The audience can pose questions to Poornima, or rather, you can just express your opinion about the presentation or your viewpoints on the topic. So again, the session is open. You can also type the questions in the message box. Somebody has already asked for the PPT. So,
Yeah, I will be sharing it in the messages very soon.
Thank you so much, Poornima. And to the participants, uh, as soon as Dr. Poornima shares the PPT, I will share it in our WhatsApp group. So if you haven't joined the WhatsApp group, please join it using the registration link. And thank you for that wonderful presentation, Poornima. I would like to just say that this is a very relevant area where we need to ponder upon how we are presenting, how we are representing Mahabharata during each times, the political, social implications. And these days we have also a lot of graphic narratives too. But then it was there from the very beginning, the Tamachatragada and all that. And so, have you thought about the newer variations of Mahabharata, like in the video games, and how the
Yes,
video games, the contemporary video games represent Mahabharata?
yes. I've not. I didn't find the time to. So far, I was engaged with the study of all of these four texts, so I didn't get the time to look further than this. So I think in future I will be trying to attempt that one. So that was a good suggestion from you, ma'am. Thank you.
Yeah, one cannot do everything together in a research. You have to put a full stop at somewhere. But you have done quite a commendable work.
Thank you, ma'am.
And even the Mahabharata, Facebook, and maybe Instagram, new recreations and all that, immersive video games.
Yes, yes. I have not yet studied about that particular version of Mahabharata. I've looked at e-versions, like there is a Twitter version available by Chindu Sridharan. That is around 20 tweets. He has written the entire Mahabharata in around 20 tweets on Twitter. So I've just gone through such kind of retellings, that is all. But I have not yet researched on that.
Yeah, that's very interesting. In 20 tweets, the whole of Mahabharata. Okay. That's almost impossible to consume. Thank you. And some of the audience raised their hands like, yes, yes, you wanted to say something more?
What is it, ma'am? Hello?
No, I just thought that you were saying something, Dr. Poornima.
No, I don't have anything more to say, and I am extremely sorry. I took up a lot of time and regarding the slides, what I had prepared, I couldn't share properly.
Yeah, it all
So
happens because it's a digital platform.
And all of the viewers were very patiently listening to me. So I thank the audience. I thank Betsy ma'am for this invitation. I thank Dr. Anu for her presentation, a very close friend of mine. So I'm very happy that she was here to chair the session for me today. And I thank all of you for this opportunity.
The chat box is full of compliments.
Thank you. I would like someone to give a feedback on the session. Would anyone of you give a feedback?
Feedbacks are there, ample feedbacks are there in the message box. You have got wonderful session, interesting topic, but questions are not coming. Feedbacks are there. But anyway, I couldn't ask you this question during your open defense because things were all confusing at that time. But I would like to pose that question now. Of all these 4 works, which is your favorite?
That I cannot mention because all of these are these are all excellent works and they are written by excellent writers. They are all iconic works. So there cannot be any comparison between these works. We cannot say that one is better than the other. So I can never point out such things.
No, I never said the best one. I said personal favorite.
Yes, Anu?
Personal favorite, not the best one.
You were not audible just now. I couldn't hear.
No, I was saying I was not asking for the best work or the first work. I was asking your favorite, personally favorite work.
Personally, my favorite actually is Palace of Illusions. I like the language presentation more than because the other works are a bit later, that is earlier works. This being the latest one, the use of language and descriptions and all, I like that very much. Ma'am, can we wind up the session now? I think it's already late.
Well, a big thank you for Dr. Anu Paul, who has always been such a great support for me. And thank you for joining in most of our sessions too. Dr. Anu, you have done a good sharing, and you have explained everything that was there in Poornima's presentation in a much more, in a very succinct manner, and has actually pointed to all her interesting, all the interesting aspects of her presentation. So thank you so much. And we expect your cooperation again and again in our presentations, in our programs, because we at the Research Center at St. Aloysius College do organize a lot of programs. We have at present running research paper award competition in English literature. This Chrysalis lectures will be there of the month. Then we'll be organizing workshops and other programs. So thank you all for being here. So Nima.
Yes, ma'am. So for the participants, there is a feedback link posted in the chat box. Please do submit it for generating your e-certificate. And thank you, Poornima ma'am and Dr. Anu Paul for being here with us. So, and I take this opportunity to express my heartfelt gratitude and appreciation to all those who contributed to making this online lecture series, Chrysalis, a remarkable success. First and foremost, I would like to extend my deepest thanks to our presenter, Dr. Poornima, and our moderator, Dr. Anu Paul, for their valuable presence. And next, I would like to thank our principal, Professor Chaco Jospi, for his continuous support throughout our programs, and Professor Betsy Palsy, Director of Research, whose generosity and partnership had played a crucial role from the beginning itself and still continuing. And Ms. Susan Joshi, Head of the English Research and PG Department of English, for her valuable support. And a very special thanks to all our attendees for being here today. Your presence and enthusiasm have made this gathering all the more meaningful. So we truly appreciate your time and participation. So as we draw this event to a close, let us carry forward the knowledge, connections, and inspirations we have gained here today. So once again, thank you all for your support, and we look forward to seeing you in the upcoming events. Thank you and have a wonderful evening. Thank you all.
Thank you, Nima, too. And thank you all the research scholars who are behind the screen working for the smooth conduct of this program. Ms. Shruti, Ms. Atulya, Ms. Hridya, Ms. Nima, and Ms. Reshma. Okay, so let's call it a day. Thank you so much once more, dear Dr. Anu, and thank you, and Dr. Poornima. Bye. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Have a good day. Bye.